I'm Sandy Hart. I'm with the Global Women's Village, and we were previously Sarah, the Spiritual and Religious Alliance for Hope, which was founded in 2001, but really got off the ground in 2002 as a result of 9/11. And I heard gather women. And so I convened the women in my community of different faith traditions, and we went to work in the community. But I don't really want to take another breath here without honoring the Alberts. Steve and Abigail, you've worked so hard leading up to this year, the last 9 years and beyond, preparing for this, and now having actualized it not in your 9th year, and also the week ahead. So I invite everybody to please keep our prayers for health and well-being and endurance on them, and all the love for them that we can muster, and that they know how very loved they are. Gotcha. I'm going to invite you now. Let's just start because it's been a big day for so many people, and here we are at the end of it. And I'm going to invite you to just take a minute here. Let's take a breath together. And you can close your outer eye if you're comfortable, and just take a second and feel the chair that's supporting you, or whatever you're sitting on that's supporting you. Recognize the faces and the hearts that are sharing this space, and honor yourself for being here as well. And also, whatever you went through for the course of your day, you're here, and now you can exhale. But let's do that inhale and exhale together. I'm going to invite you to, if you can, flatten your feet on the floor, or sit however you're comfortable. And if you're not comfortable, before I made that suggestion, wonder why, because now you have an opportunity to really relax, sink in, and be comfortable. And let's take a long, deep breath up from our toes. Stop in the belly. Let it just settle in there, where we hold so much of our day. And take that up with your breath, up into your heart chakra, up into your throat chakra, up into where you meet your third eye, meet your highest self, and up and out the crown of your head. Now let's take one more breath, but now breathing down from the cosmos, down through the top of your head, down behind your eyes, down behind your throat chakra, down into your heart chakra. And let's stay there and take a breath in and out through your heart. Take one more breath in from your heart and bring it down, all the way down to your toes, out into Mother Earth. And let all that no longer serves you of this day, of this week, of this year, be absorbed, and let her take it and alchemize it into some nutrient-rich elements that we need so desperately in our world right now. And now please open your eyes if they were closed. And welcome to Interfaith Awareness Week. And I wonder if many of you have already been in other programs, but you know, the Poway Interfaith Alliance is reaching globally. And while we're also joining activities that are happening all around the world. And Interfaith Awareness Week, as you probably know, in case you missed it or hadn't heard this yet, it began in 2010 when King Abdullah II of Jordan proposed in a UN session, the UN General Assembly, that this be unanimously adopted. So you're participating in a UN recognized annual observance, I should say. And thank you to the Alberts for carrying this part of it. It's so important that we, as such a vibrant interfaith community, that they are such great stewards of, are able to participate in. Okay, so here's how tonight is going to flow. And by the way, let me just acknowledge those who have joined us since I started. Thank you. And this is being recorded. Okay, so what we're going to do tonight is, well, I have a presentation that I prepared for you tonight for this call. I really hope this to be a balanced conversation, but I do a lot of talking, but we will get through it, and then we'll have lots of conversation. So what we're going to talk about is the proof of concept of this theory of women featuring a new paradigm. I will address and we will discuss what it means to be in the darkness of these evolutionary times we are in, and perhaps how we got here. And what is a woman who futures a new reality, a new paradigm, the emerging paradigm? And we'll discuss potential impact of what it means to live into that, and why futuring, no matter who you are, is so critical right now. And then we'll have a conversation in a breakout. It doesn't look like a breakout is going to be necessary. It's so I really do love it when it's a smaller group, because then there's more, we can all hear from everybody. But this also works really well for breakout. But we will discuss a few things we'll get to. And then you can stop me at any time. We're going to keep this casual. But for time's sake, please be brief and keep your, what you might want to ask is to being questions and clarifications, because we'll have plenty of time for your opinions and your thoughts and your, your wisdom throughout the call. So, but if you have questions, if I'm not being clear or you want me to repeat something, please don't hesitate to slow me down. And because I want to get through this in the right amount of time, so I may speak a little more quickly. To clarify what I mean by the darkness, this is really important, so allow me this disclaimer. This space is not about the dark events that are happening, dark current events that are happening all around the world right now. It's about shifting who we are in these times. There's no question of the urgency of the horrific issues globally. This call is not about that. This call is to address something else, but because these conditions in some degree or another that have been recycling through humanity for as long as recorded history, we have to ask ourselves, why is that? What are we missing? And why do these conditions continue to resurface? What are we missing in this? And it's like a boil that we think we're healing. It goes underneath the surface, but then it comes up again. It never really gets healed. We just end that war. We just pass a new resolution, but somewhere it's going to come up in time again. And we've seen that time and time and time again. And so it's a time to ask different questions. And that's what our work here is to do. This doesn't mean that we stop our resistance. We do not. We do our work on the ground. We join and fund organizations we feel are helping our cause, because there are so many causes to choose from, unfortunately. We are careful where our money goes in our daily buying habits, and not to be contributing to the over-consumerism and this domination trance that we can talk a little bit more about later. We're also aware of not letting, and please practice, not letting this chaotic time steal our grace. We continue to pray, pray, pray. And again, there's no shortage of organizations to help. But meanwhile, while we are healing the problem on the surface, is that root really getting healed? So otherwise we're just constantly recycling, and we'll be operating in triage mode. And for every catastrophe or war that emerges, that means once again we're not really getting to that root of the catastrophe. So how do we pull up that root? What is our responsibility to personally to that end? And that's what it means to be in a person, specifically in our case, that's Arlene, a woman who futures. Because I think we make a compelling argument that it's the women who own the solution, and we also contribute to the problem that is so pervasive that we may not even be aware of it. So that's very much a part of why I was so thrilled to be able to offer this conversation, and what our organization and our work is, and our initiative is all about. Okay, so a little introduction to who we are, and which is largely the story of our transition from Sarah. Again, Spiritual and Religious Alliance for Hope, founded in 2001. and it was time for a change. And why we changed our name to Global Women's Village, and how women featuring a new paradigm came about. So I can kind of conquer all those things in one spot. And so again, it's important. I mentioned that I was going to share our proof of concept to this theory, and that is as follows. So I was on the task force for the Parliament of the World, the Women's Task Force for the Parliament of the World's Religions, for the past many parliaments. These are conferences. Has anybody been to a parliament here? A couple of you have your. Okay, so I know you have. I've been to them with you, Alberts. The Parliament of the World's Religions is just about the largest interfaith convening of grassroots, the interfaith folk, theologians, clergy, thought leaders, all forms of spirituality, every tradition and religion you can imagine, walking the halls together, sitting in one of the 400 workshops or plenaries or exhibits or just demonstrations of tradition and faith, and different experiences, a marketplace, all just this huge conference. It happens over the course of a week. And I was on the Women's Task Force, again, like I said, for the past many parliaments. And I've also always paid attention to the pattern in women's leadership and the roles in our community for the past 2 decades. So here we are, and going into another parliament, and I was not convinced that 40 workshops and 2 plenaries was enough of a presence of women, as if we were just given our unique corner as a place in the world's religions. Women are another track. Women are 50% of every single program and presentation, and problem too. And there was already not a big enough presentation at that. So absolutely acknowledging women is important. And I'm glad that they do that. And I'm glad that there's a women's track. There's only been a women's track since 2015. But it was, I just, again, wasn't convinced it was enough. And it was time really to evolve the presence of women at the largest the conference of world's religions. And I slipped earlier saying that women are disproportionately negatively impacted by every problem and every social issue known to mankind. That's not a secret. And I wanted to see a place that was a microcosm of a culture that was prepared in feminine design for humanity. Now that culture, and stop me if you don't agree, consists of care and caregiving, collaboration, cooperation, hospitality, consensus and unifying decision-making, considering the full spectrum of impact, reverence for nature and one another, and conditions of reverent listening, sacred listening, in and out. And these are all principles of intentional feminine design. So all of this, but what led me to this realization was inspired by a 4-hour event that I produced with this wonderful team of women the morning before the 2018 Parliament in Toronto. Abigail, you were there, I believe. Yeah, and what Alchemy of, you're muted.
I was there too.
Yeah,
Oh,
Vanessa was there.
Hi there. Yeah. Okay. So we convened 200 women to meet to explore who we were as women in the world and prepare us for the week ahead. Because of the outcomes of the event, I had a proof of concept of what happens when women are present and anchored in who we are in the world. So when 2023 Parliament comes to Chicago, me being on the Women's Task Force, I had an opportunity to expand our presence. Expanding now the whole week, not just 4 hours, the morning in the nearby hotel, but the whole week within the halls of the Parliament. So I proposed a larger presence and was granted 1,370 square feet to design and raise our own funds for a women's village. And we built that village with intentional feminine design. And throughout the week, the feedback I got was, the air is different in here. I feel safe here. I heard this from men too, by the way. My favorite picture of the village is a man curled up on one of our comfortable velvet couches, which I insisted was the first thing I ordered because those hard, cold cushions, benches that they usually put in conference halls are not very comfortable. So we had to have the velvet couch, purple velvets, benches, and a big, beautiful sofa, and a lot of other beautiful things in the village that were meaningful and interactive. Somebody, did I hear somebody? No? And so again, the things I heard was, I feel safe here. This whole parliament should be a women's village. Um, um, one woman later told me on her podcast, she said it publicly, that the village, what happened in the village in this one experience that happened there could never have happened anywhere else, and it saved her life. So we all took that to heart and we came home. It was actually really interesting because being in the village, what was noticed, and again, I heard this from so many people, it was as if the veil had been lifted, as if the truth of who we were and what our roles were and who we were in the scope of not just the parliament and this major convening of like 7,000 people, but who we are in the world when we design in this fashion. We created a condition that affected the air in a space that really weren't walls. They were just these dividing tapestries that were really full that created our space. But when you stepped over the threshold into the space, you knew you were in a special, unique environment. And it was the year we spent building that village. So what if we built a whole world like that? Now, the work we had to do leading up was very informative. We had to do a lot of healing. We had to do a lot of, important sacred decision making. And we practiced, and we again came up with our proof of concept. Basically, I knew exactly what was next for Sarah, and we agreed to change our name to the Global Women's Village, and we adopted the archetypal identity of a woman who futures a new paradigm, a new reality. And I'm going to share with you right now I'm going to share with you right now how we identify what it means to be a woman who futures a new paradigm. And this is in the form of our mission statement. Let me make sure I'm sharing my sound. And here we go. And if somebody can give me a thumbs up when you hear, or Abigail, if you can give me a thumbs up if you hear music.
I got love in my eyes to protect me from the speakers of hatred and rage.
The mission of the Global Women's Village
is to further our vision of women futuring a new paradigm.
We answer the call as women to restore balance, birthing a new humanity for the emerging consciousness.
We reimagine the future through the embodiment of timeless qualities entrusted to us through our inherent nature as women,
where feminine wisdom and sovereignty are honored. Collaboration leads, and wholeness is the new success.
And wholeness is the new success.
And wholeness is the new success.
And wholeness is the new success. We co-create this not only for ourselves,
but for Mother Earth,
for all generations,
and for the soul of humanity.
And for the soul of humanity.
For the soul of humanity.
Restoring balance.
Restoring balance.
Restoring balance, birthing a new reality.
Birthing a new reality.
If you want to join the show, take my hand and let us go where the sun is. It's not so far away. When you're weak and when you're strong, don't forget that you belong where your heart is. Just listen to what it says.
Thank you. Yeah, Yael Deckelbaum, she really put a cherry on it, didn't she? Listen to our heart, listen to what it says. And that's what we did when we were developing this concept of what it means to be a woman who futures a new paradigm. All right, so now let's get to work. Here we go, and I'm going to share my screen again. I tried to put this all together in my presentation, but I was having technical problems, as is the flavor of the day, I suppose. I think, are we still in retrograde? I don't know. Okay, here we go. Let me make this larger. There you are. So here we are, women featuring a new paradigm, restoring balance, birthing a new paradigm in the potency of the darkness. So we believe that the secret is hiding in plain sight. For too long, not a single cultural institution has been built with the input from our equitable contributions of half of humanity. It's time to reimagine new perspectives. It's time to co-create and actualize a new paradigm. It's time for women who future a new reality. And a great visual of this is to think about a seed that is planted in the darkness, is planted underground. It needs that darkness. It needs to be covered up before it can grow into its highest potential. And what happens before a seed grows? It disintegrates. It falls apart completely. It does not, it's unfathomable to its existence before. Systems break down. Things that we never thought could happen as the seed happens. And then all of a sudden, something new comes forth. All that chaos, the catastrophe I mentioned earlier that this call is not about. This is what possibly is happening in at that root ball. This is possibly the disintegration that's falling apart. The powers to be are holding on to what that seed is supposed to be. But that new growth wants to happen. I mean, when we start practicing reverence for nature, we start seeing our relationship to nature. And we then, and then accept the fact that we're growing into something new. And we are at a brilliant time in history. We're an extraordinary time in history where we can both see that disintegration and the new growth above the ground. We can see them both happening. We are here for a reason. We chose to be here now. We don't know where we're going, but we know we're on our way. And the question is, what are we doing right now? History is going to be judged by how we shape the future in these evolutionary times, in this breakdown for breakthrough. And so we recognize that for the past 150 years, the work that began by our grandmother suffragists has been trying to change a system, the existing system, when in fact it requires reimagining and reconfiguring something new that works for all. There's a quickening. When you get there, you go, oh, and then everything starts falling into place. There's an ease, a new way of being that brings into sacred balance the divine masculine and the divine feminine. Women featuring a new paradigm are archetypes. Architects, we're also archetypes of the divine feminine, of the unseen place that's calling us. It's ancient and new at the same time. You know, so many are holding on to wanting to go back to the way it was when it was a more egalitarian society. And yeah, that idea is certainly something we would love to, imagine for ourselves. Yet it's going to be something different because we're evolving. Our bodies are evolving. Our minds are evolving. So we have to accept the fact that it's going to be new at the same time. And here she is. This is actually, if you were at the Parliament, you might remember these staffs that we had. This is actually A.R.A.H holding one of the staffs that was on display at the Parliament. A woman who features a new paradigm stretches the edges of the meaning of leadership beyond recognition. Like I just said, she requires and invites a new identity. She brings a new paradigm that radically reimagines the world to be more sustainable and inclusive for all. She recognizes and reckons with her role in the systems of domination and does her work to heal those wounds. That's the work we're doing. We have to accept the fact that we are contributing to this and be honest with ourselves and do that work. And we are all here to love each other into wholeness. She restores and reveals the archetypal blueprint of who she is. And now we're all being called upon to really release those confines of the old structures and reimagine how we move forward together, utilizing the very gifts our bodies, our minds are trusted with. Our womb is known as the first nation by the original African people. It's according to indigenous wisdom around, we are nature. We've forgotten that in our colonized world and our colonized mind. There we go. And our calling. I don't need to, remind you of this. We've been looking in the wrong places. We know that humanity is aching for a breakthrough of new solutions to old problems. And this is what we get to do. And it's time to recognize our innate power and our responsibility. I'm going to rush ahead because I've been doing too much talking here. And I can absolutely send you this if you'd like it. Now, you were wondering, Steve, weren't you? What about the men? Calling all the men. Well, women we're in the lane of women and doing our work because we have to be responsible. And this is work that's unique for women to do. Men have their unique work to do together. Yet what we do as women, we are absolutely responsible for holding men while they work through their, the patriarchy that is inflicted upon them. This is not the natural way and so many men, especially those in, I've heard from men in Latino and also Arab communities say, I'm sick. The machismo, or I'm sorry, there is actually an expression in Arabic for the same condition. It's just not working anymore. And so we invite all men and those who identify to join us and to balance this energy. And we all know without men, we could never be in balance. Let me help. There you go. This is the Baha'i prophet Abdul Baha. The world of humanity is possessed of two wings, the male and the female. So as long as two wings are not equivalent in strength, the bird will not fly. And so, yeah, we absolutely have we need to see the men. Thank you. I'm not watching the chat, so perhaps if it's something urgent, I just see that there's a couple of notes in there. Don't hesitate to unmute. So how do we do this? What does this all mean? This is a lot of nice things to say, Sandy, but really, how do we do the work? I'm going to give you some high level things to consider. First of all, we have to pay attention to our awareness. Practice awareness. Practice and build the capacity for awareness. It takes intention that you practice something for 21 days, and before you know it, you're starting to become aware of different things like, why am I buying this product? Why am I walking into this room? And even the silliest thing, why do I drive this way to work or drive this way to the market? Even though it's the only way to get to the market or the only way to get to work, asking yourself these questions really builds that muscle and creates a neural pathway of raising awareness. So when you least expect it, you're going to start questioning assumptions, like when you watch television and a commercial comes on and tells you, buy this product and it'll make you rich, beautiful, and thin. And realize, oh, wait, that's the system. The system wants me to be a participant in that. That is me contributing to the system. Power overreach by corporations, and also me giving my money to an organization that may not be supporting my cause, or worse, supporting a cause I absolutely don't agree with. So that's the sort of those are some of the hints that your awareness is kicking in. We can do our work to accept that there are ancestral wounds, and what are they? Because those are usually what triggers our a lot of our behavior that we kind of might regret after we behave in a way. We release burdens of shame, contempt, and blame. Boy, this is a hard one, especially for women. I'm the poster child for this. And again, that awareness will hit me in the head every single time I find myself feeling shame, contempt, blame, apologizing for the silliest of things. It's like, oh, wait, how could I say that differently? Yeah. And being aware of these things is really important, but there's work there. It's not that easy. Remember our life-giving and life-preserving gifts, men and women. We were gifted with life-preserving gifts, and let's not forget them. And one of them is not stressing ourselves into a tizzy that we make ourselves sick. So we have to start with ourselves. And then women, we have womb wisdom. And we often tell it to just be quiet and sit down. So I invite us to pay more attention to that. I don't know what it's like to be a man. I don't know what it's like to have a feeling and not feel comfortable, or it might come out wrong if might give somebody the wrong impression. I think we all carry some degree of not showing up in our full authentic self and our full integrity in certain conditions that you might not even be aware of, but you start raising that capacity for awareness, and you'll find it'll come to you. Restore bonds with nature. That's probably the easiest thing we can do. It requires just time. And if you live in a inner city and you don't have anything but a tree, go love that tree. And we change our story by beginning with new language and, again, questioning assumptions. Those assumptions are what basically I brought up in raising awareness. Change our language. I'll give you a quick one. Catch yourself. This also builds awareness. Use it when you use the word just, J-U-S-T. I'm just calling. No, I'm calling. Well, I just have an opinion. I have an opinion. I just have something to say. I just love you so much. Can you do without that word? As much as I talk about this all day long, written about it, I think it's in my book. As much as I talk about this, I still catch myself. And you might get me going, and then I stop. But that awareness, that building awareness really matters. And what we're telling somebody about how we think of ourselves is, when we use that word, we're telling somebody, wow, she doesn't think much of herself, right? Or I'm such a goofball. It's like, okay, there are other ways of putting that without putting yourself down, because you're putting out into the universe what you want the universe to know about you, what you want other people to know about you, and it's coming directly from your thoughts. So when you change your language, you change your thoughts, and it works both ways. It's kind of magical. And when we do this, we midwife the future with divine love, grace, and respect for all. And it's not hard. It's not hard. And I think it's the greatest gift we can give to ourselves. None of this is really controversial. And if it is, please, let's talk about it, because I'm blinded to that. Oops. Okay, I'm not going to spend any time on the details, but let's just look at the topics here, at the titles. Our theory of change is we're going to move from a system of domination with methods of awareness through and to create a new narrative, because that narrative is our currency. It's what we exchange with other people. It's what our brains exchange with our thoughts. Our thoughts exchange with what we say, and what we say further supports our thoughts. So we have a great responsibility there. And then again, harmonizing with nature and restoring reverence. And then we ultimately will live into a system of partnership and collaboration, from normalized wars to normalized reverence. And again, I can send you this if you like, and that's it for that. So now I can stop talking and I get to hear from you wise people. Please forgive me. Let me just get rid of all of this. And remember what questions I had prepared for you. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about, if you wouldn't mind, and tell me, what do you think the impact will be? Have an open conversation. You can raise your hand, or if no one's speaking, please unmute, and we'll keep it casual, and we'll practice circle principles and speak from your heart. What does it mean? What impact, what might happen when we live our daily lives in this way? What's our highest aspiration?
Well, what if we gain our greatest dreams?
You want to say a little bit more about that? That's a great answer.
Well, I mean, I taught college for 44 years, and I was with many 20s, 30s, even 40-year-olds who were looking for a direction. And the direction that they had gotten so far was what their family had told them they had to do. Whether it was be part of the business, or whether it was, oh, you have to be a doctor, or you have to. And just like you said, when you use the word just, you are reducing your power. And when I say I'm just a little bit crazy, I mean that.
I agree. You don't know what fun is until you've been stuck in a school bus in a flood under a bridge in Detroit with these two. Abigail will laugh you right through the situation.
Oh my God. Pouring rain, flooding.
Yeah.
Everybody else was quiet except there was 4 of us in the back. I don't know what we were doing, but we were laughing and just making each other funnier and funnier. And you know what? I believe that was so important because we took away the tension of the time, because there was roads closed, police for the fire ends were going, the police were coming, the people were, you know, if they were on the side of the road with their cars, they were out. So we, if nothing else, we put an energy of joy into the atmosphere. And I believe that helped not only the people on our bus, obviously it helped us, but it just created something, that energetic beauty of, we're okay. Let's just laugh in the midst of this. And I think it went beyond our bus and went to the roads and the roadsides and everything. And I know it helped me because we were craziness. We were laughing so hard. About what? I have no idea. And it doesn't matter. So I think God was using us at that point to really just say, okay, let's just laugh through the situation, as on the outside, bad as it seems, you know, on the inside, there is that beautiful truth of joy and happiness and love, and we will get through this.
Abigail, thank you for going there with that and launching from that conversation about power and living our dreams. What is not present when we're laughing and in joy is fear.
Yes.
And and it's hard to laugh at what you see, but when you remember that condition, that feeling in your heart, recall that lightness. That's what happened in the village. There was drama. You know, it was almost like watching a play where, you know, everything started out lovely and it was like a musical, you know, a romantic musical. And then the antagonists show up, and then the little drama happens, and then, you know, some a little beehive of issues were happening, and how it all, and how our spirits were still buoyant because of that condition that you talk about. I don't remember the silly laughter like we experienced with you and the infectious laugh. You guys just haven't heard anything. You know, can't die before you hear Abigail, laughing. But the this condition of a buoyant heart is so relevant to being a woman who features, because when you're confident in who you are, men and women, when you're holding that staff, like, come to mother. You're not like, go to your room. Come to mother. Come on my lap. Let me show
Okay,
you. Let the women take this.
one more word and then I'll shut up.
No.
And the word is but.
Yeah, that's
I
another.
am a really good person, but you just said you're not. I love the beach, but I get some. I love these foods, but they make me fat. But I love, but is saying whatever I said before is not true.
It discounts everything you just said. Absolutely. And again, while there's so much power in that, in that word, like there is the word just, it's also, you're also building the capacity again for awareness. And it starts showing up. We talked about in the title of this talk is the potency of the darkness. And I alluded to the darkness in the seed analogy. It's an invitation. This time is an invitation to remember our awareness building capacity and our power. I used to use the word courage. I have a better expression. I'm changing the narrative. Actualized power. We have power, but how many of us actualize it? Right? So I thought my intention is to get, my kids to stop fighting. But is it really going to actualize a resolution? It might send them to the room, but it's not going to really solve the problem. So when we bring in that buoyant heart and say, come to mother, let's love this out. Right now you have your own parenting skills. That wasn't really a great example, but I hope it makes a point here. So, but the invitation of these times is really so important to be aware of. Again, another awareness. When you turn on the news and you're faced with, oh no, another unfathomable situation. Do we crumble? Do we fall into the despair, into the darkness, or do we take that darkness as an invitation and slow down to the speed of awe and wonder of what's going on, of what's possible? We already know that laughing doesn't stop the situation, but it provides a nutrient-rich environment for us to find new solutions to old problems. We're never going to solve problems of the day being afraid, because our response is going to be in direct relation to the energy we're putting into it. We're trying to solve a problem in the same condition that created it, which Einstein will tell you is known as insanity. So let's try something new, shall we? Yeah. Let's pay attention to and this is stuff we can do all day long, every day, right? I'm the type of person that prays all day long. I just keep an open line, right? I do my meditation. I have my specific times for different things, but I'm one to run a constant line. I think that book Abigail, I know you read that. Right? That's also an important thing. It's like to really to listen and pay attention to those moments, how pervasive they are and how often we skip right over them. That's what I call a liminal space. It is known as a liminal space, the moment between here and there. What are we doing in that liminal space? We are in a liminal space right now. I mean, you could arguably we're in a liminal space all day long when we're trying to decide what to make for dinner, or what we're going to wear, or what we're going to do with this relationship, or how am I going to respond to this? From the space between awareness and action is liminal. What you do in it is what matters. And remember, the more you're aware, that space, which normally we respond in a hot second, that becomes voluminous when we're aware. And what you do in it can be quite an odyssey. It's a little nod to my book, The Liminal Odyssey. And so the liminal space is not to be discounted. As a matter of fact, I really invite you to honor it and accept the fact that we have these moments of choice all day long, right? And when I say all day long, I mean with every thought we have. You can become all-consuming, right? Paying attention to those thoughts.
I think your point of being aware is number one, especially if we've had something that wasn't nice happening. The idea of, oh my God, here it comes again. Oh no, I can't do it again. And I think the older we get, the more times we overcome situations and then are able to look back and say, wow, I did that once. Maybe I can do it again. I think of how many times I've changed jobs. Ah, I got fired from this. It's all over. Oh, that's it. You're going to die. It's done. And an hour later, I've got a new job. What's our awareness of what we can reach? And your points are perfect. It's, you can reach whatever you want.
That's right. Yeah. And you know what I say now? Oh, yes, Abigail.
Oh, go ahead. I'll get you in a minute.
What I say when something doesn't work out, I had for too long, I let it be a devastating situation. And then I'm like, oh, wait, I might be dodging a bullet here. This might be, yeah, like you said, oh no, the devastation of losing a job. Well, it had to happen. So this new job, which was probably a totally better situation. And if it wasn't, you made it a better situation. Yeah. I always tell my kids, if it's not good, make it good. I mean, if in the right conditions, of course, don't accept things that don't work. But the fact being that this is what we did when we were building the village for a year, and weekly 1 hour or 2 hour calls every single week for a year, leading up to the last parliament. Anytime something wasn't showing up, like we couldn't get these banners, or we couldn't get that picture, we couldn't raise all the money. Okay, we're being protected. And you know what? Just like that, as soon as we let go of it, like within an hour in one case, something better showed up. So we can say thank you when something doesn't happen. I'm going to trust the loving universe that this is supposed to happen for my greatest good. And no, and if this is an interfaith. We are all here because we're interested in faith or interfaith. We have a higher belief system. We have a trust in a higher God, or whatever it may be for you, a great mystery, whatever it may be for you. Let's not forget that when it's not convenient. Let's remember that and relax into it. And I have a great book for you called The Trust Frequency, 10 Assumptions for a New Paradigm. Please go get it. And it really speaks about, the holographic universe and everything. And it's not too heady. If it's not too heady for me, I'll get it. And yet the basics are the 10 assumptions. And the top one is awareness. Yeah.
In that awareness too is a lot of times is recognizing that an awful lot of things sometimes that you end up doing on a regular basis are really not things that you enjoy, and maybe are not all that important. And it's when you start recognizing what would actually happen if I didn't do this. Frequently, you discover absolutely nothing's going to happen. And so, why am I doing this if I don't enjoy it? And if I stop doing it, nothing's going to happen. So, being able to recognize when to walk away from something or to just let go of something, I think is probably one of the biggest things that that we can all benefit by. That we are not here to be the answer to everything. And sometimes answers aren't even required.
Thank you. That's so important. Aho. Abigail, you were going to say something. I want to reflect on Carol. Yeah, please. You were going to say something earlier.
Oh, I just want to piggyback on Carol. I love what she said, because I think, when you're talking about women and the way we used to be and what we're working towards, is how often we as women keep saying, yes, I'll do that because it's expected of us. And so, Carol, what you said was really important. We're at the point now where we can look at something and say, no, I don't want to do that. I mean, years and years ago, I don't think women ever said that. They just nodded their heads and said yes. But we are at a point where if it doesn't feel right internally in our heart and our mind and our soul, we can say no. The earth isn't going to fall apart because we said no. We will be happier if we say no to something that does not serve our purpose. And if we don't know whether we should say no or not, that's a question we should be asking ourselves. Does this feel good? If it feels good, am I in service? Am I doing something that I love to do or want to do that will help somebody else or help me? I have learned over the years that I have had to say no, because I've always, in my past, I'll say past life, meaning earlier life and in this dimension now, I've been kind of wanting to please people. I want people to like me. So yes, I'll say yes. And I'm not saying yes.
I have found often that when I'm having difficulty saying no, that means that no is even bigger.
Yes, absolutely. When you've got
it's even more important for me to say no.
Right. And then
that's because if I'm feeling pushed into a yes, then I almost automatically the word comes out of my mouth, no, thank you. And I have learned that over time, and that has served well. And again, as I said, I have never been in any situation that I have knowingly there created any kind of an issue where the world was falling apart with my no. Because most of the time, nothing happened.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's one of our, I think a very big issue, Sandy, that women tend to say yes too often. And no is important now. Yeah. But what I was going to say earlier, I just remembered was, I resonated with you when you say you pray all day, and I feel that way too. And it's not like I'm continually praying these specific prayers. It's like I always say, thank you, God, for this, to the God of your understanding, whoever that is, creator. Thank you for the bubble of light around my car when I go out to the store, and when I say thank you, God, for the parking lot. Thank you for the food, and I'm safely getting into my car again. I'm safely coming. It's like a continuous words of gratitude, and I have found too many times that because I've said these words about my car, myself, in this wonderful circle of light and love and protection, that I have been not in accidents that could have happened. Something made me go left rather than right. And there was a car coming up. Speeding could have hit me head on or on the side, you know. We had a fire in 2007 here in Poway, San Diego area. And it was a huge fire. We all know about the 2007 fire. And I remember one of my neighbors and I literally decided we were going to make holy water. Well, we didn't know how to make holy water. We said, we'll just put water in a nice vase of some sort. And, you know, at the time that Dr. Emoto was talking about words that change the water, to make the water beautiful rather than muddy. And so we would put words on the bottom of the vase saying love and peace and happiness and joy. So we had this water, right? And when the fires came, I walked around the house and I sprinkled the water all over the house, all over the outside. And then I just envisioned this circle of divine protection around our house. Loving light, angels, anything I could do just to picture that. And our house stood, and the house across the street went down, the house next door to it went down, we had the roof off, and I really feel like this, you know, our words are so powerful that we can use the words for good and for protection and for getting us through the hard times. And because certainly 2025 has not been an easy peasy time for either Steve or me. I keep thinking we're in 2026, mainly because I think I want to get rid of 2025. But we've been through it, we've gone through it, we've learned our lessons, whatever they were, and you know, Vine has always been with us. We keep coming back to thank you, God. Thank you, God, for this. Help me learn something, you know. So it's, you know, like you say, Sandy, kind of a constant prayer of gratitude or asking for help or new ideas, or do I go left or right as I'm going down the street? And I'll just have this feeling, go right, go left, and I do it. And when I don't, I'm like, I wish I had done the other because now I've got all the red lights, you know. So it's listening to our heart. Women are so good at intuition and knowing stuff. And we need to just be aware and follow that wonderful God gift within us that is called intuition. And just continue with that. You know, like Carol, you said, intuition said no, and you follow it and you're happier for it. I've said too much.
Oh,
I think
it's
and that's one of the important things that you need to realize is that when you stop talking, you've never said too much.
Thank you. Because I was just about, I was about to say exactly the same thing. And of somebody who is so practiced in actualized power and so heart-centered, we don't believe you when you say you've said too much. So don't say that. We want to hear you because your wisdom is so important. And we can remind each other of that, men and women, right? And we can provide safe spaces for men. And there's a lot of them. There's the Gender Equity International, there's circles of men. We, for our partners or our brothers or our parents or whoever, you know, there's, when we stop the victimizing and villainizing, because women do that really well. Well, the man did this to us, and this is it. And then come the feminist movement, what do? We just turned our power on to look like the power that was coming at us. And that, you know, only got us so far, but it didn't last because look at Roe v. Wade just got turned over. So that's as political as I get. So on these calls. So, but my point being is that's a stark example of how hard our grandmothers or our mothers or my sisters marched and worked for that vote, for that freedom, for whether you agree with the freedoms or not, they were hard won. And founded in a certain foundation. And yet that also was dismantled. And it's the same thing about humanity. And so we can just look back at history and go, okay, we can see how we got here, but this time's different. This time requires something new.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
It's time to reimagine. It's time to recognize our role in this. And it's time to say, come to mother. And that we're speaking to ourselves and love ourselves back into wholeness, and then we'll love the whole humanity and if you are of childbearing age, or you know somebody who is, just like what Dr. Emoto told us about the water that I pray into, I love you, I love you, I love you, before I, start drinking my glass of water. The womb is water. We carry water in our body. How much of our body is water? What are we doing? Baby bearing or not, childbearing or not, we are water. We are full of water, and what we think and what we say and what we act and how we respond and what our nervous system does is turning that water. You ought to look up Dr. Emoto and what happens when you look into a microscope of a drop of water that's been prayed and loved over versus one that's been told it's ugly and dumb and just doesn't know anything. One is going to be symmetrical and a beautiful geometric shape, and the other one's going to be, it's going to look like something out of a horror movie. And that's kind of what it feels like. So and that's our soul. That's a representation of our soul. What are we doing to our soul?
Yep.
One of the other things you were talking about men, that is the fact that actually my father was the person who was the nurturer in my family. And I learned, and one of the things that he had 2 daughters, and one of the things he did is he told each one of his daughters that we could do anything we ever wanted to do, as long as we were willing to do what it took to do it. But we had the capacity to become whatever we wanted to become. And my mother was the controller. So I saw that contrast. So I know that there are men out there who are those kinds of men, because my father was one. My son is one. My 22-year-old grandson is one of those men. So they do exist.
Well,
and they do get nurtured. Huh?
Steve is one.
Steve is one.
Yeah, and Steve is one.
And
But I
I
mean, so I mean, the reality is that, and I think it's, again, my biggest thing is that most men don't realize, like what most women don't realize, what they're really capable of being.
Right. And what a blessing to have that father. What a blessing that, and I believe that we're all born with that for one another. I believe that exists in all men, even those who aren't displaying it or don't even know it. And that is the veil that we can start. That is what we can start disintegrating with love, and it's more than love. I don't mean to sound like I'm spiritually bypassing this at all, but it really matters how we behave. We want to see our counterparts feeling safe to be who they are as well. I have to be respectful of our time, and the Alberts have been up all day doing this all day long, and now for 2 full days. So we must end. Find me, Google me, Sande Hart, and there's a circle coming tomorrow night, a circle dialogue with our organization. You're welcome. It's free. And the recording will be found on the Interfaith Awareness Week website. And when we all just take a moment and just love our prayers all over Stephen Albert for Stephen Albert for Stephen Abigail Albert for the Reverend Doctors here, for providing this space, for holding this space, for sustaining the space, and for continuing through the week. And may you sleep really well tonight, knowing how beautifully everything's going and how loved you are. And so it is.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Sande. Thank everyone that was on.
Thank you,
Seeing
everyone.
all these.
Thank you. Much
Well,
love.
it's been a great day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.